around.
Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in tonight. Welcome into the AP Film Room. We're back on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube, Twitter, Facebook page. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you're checking us out live Tuesday evening, the Coast to Coast guys just wrapped up, and we are going to take over here in the evening. I am Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site, arrowheadpride.com. With me, as always, my guys breaking down some football with me. Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. Nate Christensen at NateCH32. Boys, we're coming off a loss. We already got Joe and Daniel, coming in. Shout out y'all. But we're here tonight to talk about the second straight loss for the Chiefs. And I don't know. We're going to talk about whether we feel like this one, has more long-term ramifications, long-term concerns. But just right out the gate, Cale or Nate, I'll start with you, Nate. Just kind of how'd you react to, you predicted at the site that the Chiefs would go down this weekend before the game, but just how did you feel after the game kind of wrapped up?
I did, but it didn't still feel good after the last Sunday. I admit I've tried to be a little more even keeled this year, at least the best I can be about some of these losses. I was pretty mad after Sunday. I was mad about, obviously, I think people were most mad about the officiating stuff. I was really mad about the way they performed. I thought they didn't look like frankly, like a team that was being professional at times. I thought they were playing not within themselves, on offense especially. I thought they just kind of had a frustrating performance against the team that they really needed a win against, a team that's their rival, and I didn't think they played disciplined, good football, championship-level football. And that was disappointing for me after that Green Bay game. I thought the Green Bay game at least had excuses, especially with the defensive stuff. But this game, I thought, had way less excuses, and it was disappointing affair. That was for sure.
Yeah, discouraging, disappointing. I think Pacheco was a huge blow, right, for the offense not having him. The defense didn't have Tranquil or Brian Cook, obviously, from the injuries in Green Bay, but I don't know, like Nate said, there was some chances to win this game. They definitely could have played better and secured this dub. Caleb, how'd you feel about the game dropping the Chiefs to 8-5?
Man, it was just a sloppy game on both sides of the ball. I mean, you saw the defense kind of take a couple of steps back, and they're down a few guys. Nick Bolton was back, but he looked like he probably wasn't ready to take on a full snap load yet. They should have probably done a better job of easing him back in. And really, the defense did end up making some adjustments and coming back. But, I mean, they showed you how bad it can be when they're not shutting people out because the offense is not good right now. I mean, they have a couple of flashes here and there, but like you mentioned, Nate, it's just undisciplined football. I mean, they're not really, they're not executing anything at a high level consistently.
Yeah, no, the offense is definitely it's the same story week after week. I mean, the defense started slow, which Nate, you're about to break down for us kind of what happened there. But they did settle in. The defense did give this offense a chance to win the game, secure the win. And we are not here tonight to talk about Kadarius Toney being offsides. We're not going to do that. There is not much to break down on that, although it was a cool play. I will say, I wish we could break down that play as being a game-winning touchdown. But Nate, you're going to look at how the defense kind of looked a little shaky in the first half. Gave away the 14-0 lead pretty early.
It did, yeah. And Honestly, overall on the defense, I thought the second half was good. I'll kind of talk about maybe some of the adjustments. I don't have the clips, but the first half was the story of the Chiefs could not figure out how to stop James Cook at all. Cook's a really good running back. He's really fast. He's a really dynamic wide receiver in the open field. But he had 10 carries for 58 yards, which isn't bad. But what was the killer was the 5 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. This is mainly going to be receiving clips. I have one run clip that I think shows some of the issues kind of the Chiefs had defending the Bills from like a number standpoint. But to kind of start here, this is, I believe, the first play of the game. And it's just going to immediately be like an easy breakdown for this. The Chiefs are going to rotate into a cover 4. The Bills are going to run like a play action pass. And like this is well defended for the most part. But Willie Gay is going to like run out to the flat here as Mike Dana kind of comes to try and get Allen. But just loses track of Cook. I mean, I know that's a one play, but just losing Cook in space, that's just an easy first down for this offense when there was like nothing created. This, I thought, was more, I'm going to talk about this, was more about how the Bills kind of use Cook's gravity. So what they're going to do is they're kind of have their H-back kind of motion in the backfield, but kind of lead out. And what this was designed to kind of hold these linebackers' eyes because he's going to kind of fake this like arc block. And then they're going to have Cook kind of swing to the side. And ultimately what it's going to do is like all these eyes, I'll play the clip. It's like all these eyes, including Willie Gay, they're all shifting that way because it's a fast 4 suddenly, which left this backside slant open. And the Bills attacked the Chiefs with it twice in the exact same formation. It was the second time was more of a crack toss, but like that was another play where like the Chiefs just did not have their checks for Cook when he was leaking out of the backfield. When the Bills would put 4 eligibles on the same side, the Chiefs had no idea how to like distribute that and covered it all, which we'll talk about with that James Cook touchdown here in just a second. I am not exactly sure what the Chiefs were doing on this play. I do know on the broadcast, Justin Reed kind of made like the tap to his chest saying he was wrong. My guess from what the coverage breakdown is, Mike Edwards is going to roll to the flat here. My guess is that they're trying to rock and roll these safeties, and Reed's going to replace him as kind of the post safety, either in like cover 3 or single high. My guess is that because of this kind of 4-by-1 formation, Reed was thinking that they were going to be in some type of like poach coverage by the way he plays this, because he kind of plays this as this like weak side safety in quarters. Regardless, they're going to leak this motion across. Edwards is going to rock and roll down to the flat to cover him. Bolton like does a fine job here. People are blaming Bolton. I think what he did here was fine. He was distributing this crosser over across to Snead, and Justin Reed just wasn't in the right position. He was just in the wrong coverage. I'm just making an assumption here. I'm just guessing that's what it is based off the way he plays. Regardless, the Bills put 4 guys on the same side. They had 1 guy running down the pipe. The Chiefs weren't ready to distribute it. They weren't ready to communicate it, and it led to them getting a touchdown off of it. So ultimately, that's the only thing that really matters here. This is the only run play I believe I included, and it was something the Chiefs really struggled with, which is a concept called dart, which I think I've talked about dart before. It's basically just all these guys are down blocking. The left tackle is going to kind of pull around and block this backside defensive end. All these other guys are going to block down. And you can kind of see the Bills really took advantage of the Chiefs from a number count standpoint, because the Chiefs were responding with 2 high safeties to all of this. And the Bills were able to kind of have a 3-layered play on this. They had this kind of like fake bubble option, but they also did with Josh Allen. I'll play the play. They were using Josh Allen as like the read guy to hold this backside defensive end. So when you have 2 high safeties, when you're having those like 4 eligibles to one side, your box is going to be light. You can see this here. They have 6 guys in the box. And when you have your backside defensive end accounted for Josh Allen, it's a 5-on-5 for James Cook. Like any running back is going to be able to go and kind of find easy creases. And the Chiefs struggled with that the entire first half. I think the Bills ran it like 6 or 7 times, and they had no answer to it at all. This is another play. I don't know exactly what's happening. From what I can see, I think the Chiefs are in some version of a quarter half. And based off the way, I think it's quarters to the field here, half field. What I don't know if this is 2-man on the backside or if this is just like straight cover 2. Because either way, the Chiefs don't communicate this well, because Willie Gay is going to go upfield I'm guessing that he's thinking that Trent McDuffie is going to squat in the flat. But whether this is supposed to be 2-man or cover 2, it really doesn't matter. The Chiefs still didn't have their checks, right? They were still not ready to communicate him coming out of the backfield, him running a wheel route. So ultimately, that's the only thing that matters on this play. We'll go on to the next one. This was the Bills, this is another kind of play off of it. They were able to use these kind of screen run options to really hurt the Chiefs defense. Willie Gay's going to blitz off the edge, bad angle from Justin Reed. The Bills are just taking advantage of the numbers all day. They were kind of gaming up the Chiefs formationally, which is the thing we've seen for kind of 2 straight weeks now. Last few plays here, the Chiefs linebackers really struggled against James Cook in the flat. they're just going to run like a play action pass. Jack Cochran's going to try and chase Cook in the flat. I'm guessing Jack Cochran was not wanting to do that, just based off the way he's trying to tackle here. I don't blame him. It was, I believe, his first play since he came in the game, but he was definitely not ready to deal with Cook one-on-one in space. None of the Chiefs linebackers were. This play obviously kind of made the rounds. The Chiefs are going to be in two-man here. They're going to have Cook kind of ISO'd on Nick Bolton. I know people use this as a play for Nick Bolton. I don't think any linebacker is covering this, frankly. It's a two-way go for Cook while in two-man, and like Bolton's is kind of straight up and down. Like, Cook could go either way. Like, I actually think Bolton plays this fine for the most part. Cook's just too fast. They were making a concentrated effort to get him on linebackers, and the Chiefs like really struggled to find that. Obviously, the loss of Drew Tranquill for this week, I think, mattered in that scenario. I can't quite remember what this clip was. Oh, it was the same clip. I forgot to delete that out. This was the last play I'll show. Here was that it was that second play with the. Sorry, I just lost my track. This is that second play with this kind of half, like this H-back kind of motioning out of the backfield. They're going to fake that crack toss here and send Knox on the slant here. Again, Willie Gay is just a little bit late to that fast four. The Chiefs did not have any strategy to deal with fast fours, and they were just struggling with that all game. Positives in the second half, I thought they made good adjustments. I thought they were inserting safeties into the run a lot more, just getting them downhill more, playing a little more man. Their blitz rate increased in the second half because I think they just realized like our linebackers can't deal with these guys one-on-one. So the strategy was, hey, if we blitz our linebackers, it's going to force the running back to stay in protection. So I thought that was a good strategy. But ultimately what I wrote in my article is that the Chiefs defense doesn't have the margin of error to go one half where they have no good communication checks, where they have a bunch of coverage breakdowns like that, because the offense is not able to make up for that. So moving forward, the Chiefs defense is going to have to be precise in their game plan, precise in their checks. This is 2 straight weeks where emotions and formation changes really screwed with their entire structure. So they got to get back and fix that. It wasn't something that was a problem the first 10 weeks of the year. So I'm not super worried about that. Obviously, a lot of this has happened without Drew Tranquill. And like you guys mentioned, first game with Nick Bolton back, potentially the communication just wasn't quite there yet. But it's still something to notice, and it's something to be concerned about.
Well, the thing, about what you said there a few times that I liked is like, you're kind of like, I don't know, but like, yeah, it is hard to tell exactly, what was supposed to happen, on some of those busts, especially the James Cook play. Cause, initially I kind of thought maybe, Edwards could have helped a little bit by just not overcommitting too hard to the flat. I understand why he did. But it felt like Jay Reed, like you kind of mentioned, he had to stay on that back quarter, and like the tight end was coming right at him. So it's like, you kind of had to pick up the tight end there, or the tight end would have been wide open instead of James Cook. So it was kind of a weird play there, I think. But I think it boils down to the Bills just coming out pretty good game plan. I mean, they were one of the best offenses in the NFL heading in, highest third down percentage, one of the best red zone, yards per play. I mean, we do got to give the Bills a little bit of credit, on that. I think those plays showed it.
Great game.
Right. And James Cook's a hell of a player. I mean, that was the first time we've really seen him against the Chiefs, all these Bills matchups. So that was kind of cool to see him pop off to an extent. Obviously, we did not to beat the Chiefs, obviously, but he was someone I was excited about. I remember a few years ago in the draft. Caleb, before you talk about your topic, just kind of how did you feel like the linebackers played? Because I feel like we are kind of a lot of this has been pinpointed on the linebackers. This wasn't Nick Bolton's first game back, no Tranquill, but this was supposed to be like the strength of the defense was the linebackers, and they have been exploited the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and like I said, man, Tranquill, he's been one of the keys to the team just because of his versatility. He's been one of the keys why the defense has been able to thrive. And, you see the impact missing him, especially this week, just kind of what it meant. But, they did, I didn't really think Willie Gay or Leo Chenal did all that fantastic. Bolton, he had a few plays here or there, but he still looked like he was like definitely needed to be on some kind of a snap count and not back into a full rotation. Like if they'd had Tranquill, they could have just had Bolton in on the rundowns, kind of let him get you back into it. And then, let Tranquill go out there and do what he does in the pass game. But, you did see it later in the game. There was some frustration. I think Joe Cullen and Chris Jones got into it, but shortly after that.
I love that, man. I love seeing that, honestly.
But shortly after that, you see the defense steps up and they start making some plays. And all of a sudden, they were the unit that kind of sparked the Chiefs back into the game. Shamari Connor had a big pick. there's still a lot of
He's awesome.
positives to take away. The Bills' second half game plan, especially in the fourth quarter, I thought was baffling. They made some wild decisions. They just got bailed out by even worse play by the Chiefs.
No lies told there. Yeah, there was some questionable Sean McDermott, game situation stuff at the end there. But yeah, let's talk about the Chiefs offense because, again, it becomes a story of the game where, the Chiefs defense, like you just mentioned, Caleb, they locked down second half. But, we're not necessarily talking about the performance of the offense as a whole here. I am really curious. I think everyone's curious to see how Wanya Morris does week to week at this point at left tackle. And, I got to say, it was a tough matchup for him, especially when Mahomes is already playing kind of skittish. But Caleb, I'm excited to hear kind of how you felt like the rookie played in his second career start, right?
Sure thing. First career start. Last week he was in off the bench.
Yeah. You're right. I was gonna say, So go ahead.
Give me just a second here. All right. And real quick before I get going, I'll just read off. I graded his film this week like I did last week. It's really unique situation the Chiefs are in. You don't get a chance to kind of play guys like this. And, sometimes when you do, it's kind of like, oh, man, we really have to get our starter back in. But Morris has been performing, and in 45 pass blocking snaps, he won 39. He had 21 blocks where he didn't get assisted by chips that he was able to win. He did give up 4 pressures and 3 quarterback hits, but most of those were early in the game. He's kind of a guy, he didn't start off the greatest, but as the game progressed and as the game went along, you saw him get more used to the speed of the NFL. You saw him kind of get comfortable, and really, it's an impressive performance. It's impressive to see the kind of strides he's made. You can see clear improvement, with the patience of his pass set. But my big thing is he's been patient. And, he did get some help from some chip blocks. So let's get into the pass blocking. Jerick McKinnon gives like a little shoulder there, but for the most part, he's going against Von Miller. And you see he throws his hands first, and Von's actually trying to, work his hands inside, but Morris gets his hands inside first. And you actually see Morris grabs a hold of Von's hand right there. And so now they're kind of fighting. But as Mahomes steps up, he just engulfs him and he just washes him out of play. Unfortunately, the pro wasn't as great across the board. But also this is one of those plays where Mahomes is moving around in the pocket. They do get the sack, but he's in there for a little bit longer than you'd like to think. You'd like to see Creed and Trey try to pick up that middle work, but still a good play by Wanya there. He wasn't really the reason for that. And then you see, like I mentioned, his hands, he's getting to the point where he's trying to strike first, and it makes sense, right? You get some tackles, they want to be patient, and they want to throw their hands at the last second. Well, is with like Wanya's frame and size, when he's throwing his hands first, it's hard for these guys to react, and he's got his hand on first there. His hips are a little turned to the sideline. He could be more square, but really you see kind of just that, you see the distance he can put between himself. The defense is trying to work the hands off, but he's just like, he gets in there, he stops it up, maybe a little hands to the face there from the defense, but good anchor by Wanya there. It's a good anchor. Here's just another play of him. He's just mirroring him up. He just does a good job. I think really his spatial awareness is pretty good. I think he understands the angle between himself and Mahomes. He kind of knows where the defense – and yeah, McKinnon is here for a little bit of help, but that's not like anything that's going to kill you when you have a rookie in there who's, still trying to prove himself, but who's starting to play a lot better. So he had that one down. I liked this play right here as well because about paused up on me there. Oh yeah, it's the same play, but really you can just see like he's like trying to invite the guy almost to come into him a little bit. And I thought this was just another good play. He's landing his punches. He got Vaughn. This isn't really his fault. I mean, Miller is the first player to get to Mahomes here, but I just have a hard time, putting a lot of this fault on Wanya because he does a good job of making him go all the way around. It's just the play's taking way too long to develop. At some point he does have to let go or he's going to get called for holding. I actually thought, that was a good rep. I don't think really anyone can complain about that one. And you just see vertical set, Miller gets his hand on first, but Wanya just kind of works it off, real simple. He is a strong guy. He's been getting more physical. I really like this play because the Chiefs are just running this boot action pass out of a power look, but he actually does a good job. He's responsible for the B gap here. This is a play that, not maybe some rookies would mess up. But since they're running like this play action power look, he's responsible for the B gap, much like he would be in a normal power look. And the blitz does come, but he's smart. He picks it up. It's a well-timed protection. The Chiefs need to probably start doing a little more of these, a little more boot action pass, get Mahomes kind of rolling out, try to find, cut down the field a little bit, try to find, some sort of chemistry with some of the receivers somewhere. But I just thought that was a smart heads-up play. Smart heads-up play by Wanya there. And then you got these wide guys. You got like a wide 9. You got the 5, but he does a great job. They try to run like a twist here, and he just mangles up the guy that's head up on him. Doesn't really, get much penetration. Mahomes is able to find a check down to McKinnon out of the backfield there. And just another angle of it, you see like, the 5 is going to be coming hard at him, but he just takes it over so that Tooney can get the looper, gives themselves just enough time. And then from the run blocking, I do have a few run blocking clips. I thought he was good in the run game. He is athletic in space. He's been doing a good job of fighting. As for run blocking in 17 snaps, I got 13 wins and 4 losses for him. Overall, on the day, I gave him what I consider 6 impact blocks. So an impact block is like a block in space, like a pancake block, a good blitz pickup, or like a twist pickup, or just, some kind of extraordinary effort, out of this world kind of effort. And really, I think effort is the name of the game. He hasn't really shown that he does one thing well yet, but he does play hard. I didn't mean one thing well. He doesn't have like that one trait that's blowing you away right now. He's starting to develop that with his striking ability in pass pro. But I do think his effort in fight pays dividends. He's just working against the defensive end here. Gets a little nasty at the end, and then the Chiefs go and push McKinnon in. You see McKinnon actually on his cut. He ends up right up by Wanya, but Wanya just keeps playing hard, gives him a little bit more time to be able to make something happen. Just a good run rep here for the Chiefs. I do like, though, just kind of his step. He just takes a nice little 45-degree. He gets inside, and then he starts just trying to work, and he gets, big with the inside hand to try to finish there. And, in space, so Buffalo runs this little return. The Chiefs are running a little outside zone. He doesn't turn back and freak out. He knows that's Tooney's responsibility. He needs to climb, and he just stays patient. He gets up there. He lets his running back kind of make a cut, and then he just does a good job to finish the play in space. That's some really good football right there. I think that's been one thing I've been hoping the Chiefs would do for a while, is try to establish a little bit of outside zone. But he's spotting up this guy, this much more athletic player in space, and giving him the business a little bit there. And then I thought he was really good working the backside of zone. I think the backside tackle in zone often gets overlooked by a lot of people, but really that's where a lot of the cutbacks come from. But this is just a great effort. Gets to the second level, spots up the DB, and then he just takes him for a ride there. So I thought it was a really solid performance. I do not have any complaints about what he did. And to tell you the truth, the way he's playing right now and the way Andy Reid historically handles line changes midseason, he's going to go with the guy with the hot hand. So depending on when Donovan Smith does come back, and I know they have a few big games here. I think they've got Matt Judon. He's having a down season for the Patriots, but he's still someone to take a look at. And then Trey Hendrickson Max Crosby, and then Trey Hendrickson, then Mack and Bosa. If they're active that last week, there's a lot of really good pass rushers. He's going to have a lot of chances to, put some good stuff on film. But like I wrote about this week, he absolutely looks the part of a guy that could be a franchise tackle. And to tell you, if they did find a guy that can start at tackle for 5 to 8 years for them, and Rashee Rice in the same draft class, then that's really pretty much a home run, because a second-round receiver and a possible third-round starting left tackle, that is pretty wild to think about when you look at where most of the starters in the league at those positions have been drafted.
Well, it's good news to hear, right? Because this team has been looking for a left tackle solution, long-term left tackle solution. We were all worried, they missed out on it in this year's draft. We were all fans of some of the left tackles they had, their eyes on. Carl Qualls in the comments, the YouTube comments, shout out Carl. He loved what you just broke down, Caleb. He said it was one of his performance, his first start was one of the best from a left tackle all season. I assume he means on the Chiefs. And he said watching 64 and 65 is like being in IHOP. Pancakes everywhere, which, those are some nice that's the thing I've noticed most about him is his run finishing, his run blocking. He really does latch on, and he can take you for a ride, as you said. So, Nate, how you feeling about Wanye's first couple, our first action with him, and yeah, just kind of excited. How excited are you to see him down the stretch here?
Yeah, there's really no there's no question that they should play him over Donovan Smith at this point. There's really no point. Even if Donovan Smith is theoretically a better pass protector when healthy, like the Chiefs' dropback offenses, we'll talk about, is bad enough to the point where I don't even think that needs to be a factor anymore. And I thought Wanya held up well in pass protection anyways. And oh my God, he's so much better as a run blocker than Donovan Smith. Yeah. I thought that play you showed with the side adjustment where the defensive end spills aside, I can tell you how many times Donovan Smith has given up an inside shoulder this year, TFL, because he just doesn't side adjust. Drives me insane. And Wanya Morris in 7 quarters has done it multiple times already. So, yeah, no, Wanya is so clearly the best left tackle on the roster at this point with Donovan Smith's injuries. And the Chiefs are going to have a decision to make with him this offseason. And I want the largest sample possible of reps instead of being like, well, we saw these 7 quarters and you look good then. No, I want large sample. If it is a flash in the pan, then we'll know. I don't believe it is, but we need to know. There's no reason why he needs to be off the field.
And he's a rookie out there, and they're trusting him. The Chiefs went empty this week more than any week other. They went 9 snaps where they were in empty protection, and they trusted him without the aid of a chip block on 21 snaps that he was able to win. Yeah. So there's a level of trust here that we didn't see the last time they kind of did something like this with the Lucas Niang type. This time around, I do think they trust him more, and I do think there's a likelihood that he will play for a while now.
Yeah, no, I think it's been positive so far for Wanye. Definitely the run blocking has been the most fun thing. And you're right, Nate, and I'm about to talk about the pass offense, but there is something to the fact that it may just be more valuable to have, a better run blocker, because you may have to lean on that a little more if they're really going to think about making a run to the Super Bowl. Because right now, as I broke down on the show over and over, when Mahomes drops back and looks downfield on a straight drop back, it just is ugly right now, and it's not working, and it's a lot of off timing, and because even in this game, Mahomes seemed like he had one of his better games, comparatively. I mean, he was making some throws at some points, right? There were times where I feel like he was playing kind of, with confidence. There were times the pass protection broke down, and then I'll break down the receivers, but there's just only so much he can do when stuff like this happens, which I'm going to show here. This play became a discussion point, and I want you all's opinion on it too, because it is interesting, right? We're going to have 3rd and 12. We're going to have the Bills. They kind of show it before the snap. You can see they're going to be in their 2 high structure. A lot of times, right, Buffalo's going to go from 2 high. So they're going to be in 2-man. They're going to have man coverage underneath the 2 safeties. And so everybody's locked up underneath. Safety's playing over the top. You're going to have 21 over here, Poyer, play a little bit shaded over Kelsey, more kind of focused on him. So really this three receiver side over here is going to have the 1 safety over the top, kind of adjust, accounting for everything. MVS is the target. He's running the deep out at the sticks. He runs out, ball's behind him, incomplete. Hits the turf with frustration. The interesting thing here is that against man coverage with the guy, it's 23 here, Micah Hyde, with inside leverage, you want to run away from the man defender on an out like this, right? You do want to create separation and run away from him, because he is focused on you. He is manned up on him. He just has inside leverage, and MVS maybe gets away with the push here, but he does a pretty good job on that part. The problem is that, first of all, look how far he drifts upfield on the break, right? That's the first part of this to me. He makes the cut at roughly the 25-yard line, maybe even before that, and he ends up all the way past the 20. And so that's the first issue on this, and you're going to see that with a few receivers. But the second issue here is that Mahomes obviously is trying to protect him from that safety that Mahomes is anticipating coming down, because he can't see that, the safety actually turned his hips and went with the vertical receiver, which you can anticipate on a 2-man play like this. The vertical is going to push the safety with him. And so that's where MVS may think, okay, I have the room. The safety is going to be pushed deep. I'm going to have all this room to the sideline underneath that. I kind of get MVS's mindset here, honestly. I really do. And that's where it's just kind of a tricky play. But I think it all comes down to the fact that watch how long Mahomes waits to throw this. I'm going to try to pause it right before, like as he's triggering. He's triggering as MVS is getting to his break, but I just feel like this ball could be on him quicker. Like the ball is still in his hand, ball just left his hand, and MVS is into his break. Like that ball probably needs to be there, right? Like as he's coming out of his break. And I think that causes some of it here because I think Mahomes is trying to protect him from that safety coming down. But like MVS is gonna MVS can't just sit and wait there because the guy, he has a man defender on him. Like the man defender is gonna be on him, and if he just sits there, the guy's gonna be able to cover it up. So this is kind of just an all-around lack of chemistry kind of play because you can tell Mahomes does not want to throw with anticipation. He kind of want to waits. He waits for MVS to really come out of his break to throw. When if this was someone like Kelsey in the same situation, this is an easy completion, just easy. He sees the inside leverage. He knows he's running it out. Boom, ball's just going to get on him right out of the break. Not even worry about trying to protect him from anybody over here. But that is what he's doing. That's why the ball's behind him. I just feel like this play is just kind of a one where it's just a lack of chemistry overall. I don't want to necessarily say, MVS did terrible or, Mahomes completely screwed this up, So I don't know, Nate, I'll ask you just kind of your thoughts maybe here. Like, what are you kind of seeing if you agree with me here?
I think you made the key word with the word anticipation. I mean, Pat's taking extra hitches there because the fact that he's not willing to, like, this is a perfect throw, like a Sale versus a Tampa 2 with a defender like out leveraged. Like, this should be the easiest catch ever. I don't really love MVS's route here, frankly. I mean, he starts cutting at the 24 and he just kind of takes a odd angle. But I think the overall point, though, that you make, though, is like there's no anticipation. There's no like. It's just like Mahomes is like, well, should I throw this? Where is he going to be? Like, there's no trust. There's no symmetry at all to the way they're playing wide receiver.
Yeah, Caleb, do you have any thoughts here just on MVS or I do want to share some insight from other people, some well-known names that chimed in on Twitter here. But any thoughts here?
I mean, MVS does round the route off pretty bad to end it. It's nothing really sharp about it. But my big thing, like you guys mentioned, there's just no chemistry or really anything. And I know MVS has had a problem catching the ball in stride this year, so maybe Mahomes wants to give him a chance to kind of square the ball up and go back to it. But also just kind of, I mean, you see how Mahomes is throwing. Like, he's got his legs pretty spread beyond his shoulders, and he's kind of trying to sling it through. He's not really going through a real throwing motion there.
Not lined up very well.
No, when I'm watching that, which is a shame because it's very good protection. That was one of the plays where they were solid up front. I mean, you can run all the 7-on-7 in the summertime and the springtime you want, but until you get into these situations, you don't know what the real chemistry is going to be. And, it's not there. It hasn't been there. And, now Mahomes is starting to lose even more confidence in his guys.
Yeah, so to your footwork point, Caleb, I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, if Mahomes wouldn't have been noticeably frustrated and we all wouldn't have seen him go, what is he doing or what are we doing after this play, I probably would have maybe blamed this more on the fact that Mahomes, his lead foot is just completely pointed to the middle of the field, and that's why this ball's behind. That's basic 101. Like, hey, he just, threw it behind him because he didn't, take his lead foot all the way. Yeah, but I think what we all talked about is true. And I do want to share with the people, Bobby Strope chimed in on Twitter when I tweeted this out. He simply said, if he keeps running, he runs into safety. If Patrick throws there, it's an INT. I think that's a little dramatic, to be honest with y'all. If Mahomes throws this leading MVS on time, he might just get lit up. But MVS is there. Like, he's gonna at least get his hands on it before he gets lit up and drops it. Like, what typically happens, right? And I think that does maybe play into this too. Is like Mahomes knows MVS ain't catching anything through traffic, so he is doing everything he can to protect him from getting hit as his ball is getting there. So I think that is interesting. Former Chiefs tight end Jason Dunn also weighed in, and I thought this is where I felt kind of confirmed that He said the crazy part is they're both kind of right on this one. MVS reading man coverage and beats his man and should run out, but Pat sees the safety and throws the ball to hold him up. Unfortunate. And he says the remedy would be Pat throws the ball right on him before MVS gets out of his break, which we kind of talked about. So I think that's just an interesting perspective from those two guys, but kind of tells, someone like Bobby, obviously connected with Mahomes, may tell you how he kind of feels about that play and MVS himself. Because we keep seeing this with MVS. You have to be able as an NFL receiver to read safeties post, as you're running your route, right? You have to be able to adjust. And this is another example of that to an extent here. Rashee Rice could have had 2 touchdowns on Sunday. He had one, which was a nice play. I'm not going to show that, but this one was a pretty, it opened up pretty good for him as well, pretty well for him. They're going to do the old fake quick screen out here, right? Mahomes is going to try to widen this, the safety out here, the linebacker out here to really open up the middle of the field for a post. And Rice just carries it a little too vertical and doesn't come in enough. And Caleb, you actually had this play earlier for a Wanye clip, but you're just going to see that Mahomes just lays it out for him in the middle of the field, away from the safety, and knowing that, he has room with this, holding this safety with Watson underneath. He really does just need to adjust this and be more on an angle to the middle of the field. Rice does, rather than he just comes out a little too vertical off the. And I kind of get it, because 43 didn't overcommit, right? Like 43 does a pretty good job of staying and turning instead of overcommitting to that fake. And that might have pushed Rice to stay upfield rather than coming across. But you do have such a step on him that you do just need to start angling, because you don't know how fast the safety can close if you stay too vertical on this, and maybe he can come and break it up. And so I do think this is more on Rice not getting all the way over, and you're going to see, obviously, that's Mahomes' throw leads him to inside, incomplete. And the last one I just want to go over after showing the end zone angle this once again, because it could have been a touchdown, right? Should have been a touchdown probably. Last one is just Sky Moore, his only target of the day. And it's just more of the same with 24. You're going to see pretty simple stuff. They run this all the time out of empty, especially where you're going to see it's usually Kelsey. Kelsey's going to be either of these routes, right? Either this underneath quick route or this over the top kind of an in route. And Sky's the in route at this time. It's basically a quick read for Mahomes, right? Like, hey, is this guy in the middle either going to like stay there and kind of, get depth with the in route, or is he going to react to whoever's running this right here? He reacts to Kelsey quickly, and the ball should be on Sky quicker than it is, right? I think that's one thing here that I do want to point out, that Mahomes, he definitely could get this to him quicker. And I think we're all seeing that Mahomes is just a little late on his reads at times, or doesn't trust them at times. And it's all just tied together with the lack of chemistry with receivers, the lack of trust with them, even times, the lack of pass protection, the lack of trust there. All that to say, though, is this is pretty simple from Sky, though. Like, once you clear this defender, there's no reason to keep working over towards where these guys are going to be crashing towards you, right? Once you clear that linebacker, 43, that commits to Kelsey, you just need to sit, dude. Just chill out. And I just don't get why we're seeing these receivers continue to drift around the field. And it's crazy. It's like they cannot chop their feet and get into a standstill position. And obviously you're not supposed to just stand still. You want to keep your feet moving and stuff, but like, you shouldn't just be drifting all over the place. And that's what happens here. The end zone angle honestly probably shows it better, where again, Mahomes needs to hit him quicker, but he just does not need to move all the way across the logo. He should be on the other side of the logo where the ball hits him initially, right? Or the ball should have hit him. Mahomes throws it, low. It is kind of low, but again, it's just some of the same stuff we saw with the MVS route. We saw it there, just drifting routes, just undisciplined routes. It just keeps happening over and over. So glad to see we have some silver linings with Wanye Morris looking better. We're going to see Pacheco back in the mix, right? He was not healthy this week, which was a big bummer with Bill's soft run defense. So I don't know. As we sit here, Caleb, I'll ask you, man, just, are we feeling, decent that they'll finish the regular season strong at least and give themselves a decent shot in the postseason at least? Or how are you feeling about the rest of the season?
I think they'll be fine the rest of the season. They have a pretty bad team they're getting ready to play against in the Patriots. And then they'll have the Raiders on Christmas, who might be taking their last gasp to, try to make maybe a late season run for them. Cincinnati, they'll be interesting. They've fought hard. They have, they still have talented players. And then the Chargers without Herbert are probably going to go full tank mode the rest of the season. I'm not horribly concerned about it, but you've seen what the Chiefs can do or what they'll do against the top levels of competition that they'll see. It does make me feel a little bit better that the entire AFC is just a big toss up right now.
Yeah.
But, this season's been something, the Chiefs aren't used to. Obviously, Mahomes isn't used to. And Andy Reid hasn't really been in this situation in a long time where his offense isn't really producing or living up to the standard that they themselves have set. So it'll be interesting. I think that you're going to start to see them I think this was the week you saw it more. They're going to really start just relying on a few guys, and, they're going to trim the fat down from the guys they can't rely on. And if they go into the playoffs and they can only trust, Pacheco, Kelsey, and Rice, then they're just going to run with those guys and, hope for the best.
Nate, final thoughts on the offense as we have 4 regular season games to go here?
Yeah, I'm going to read this tweet I sent the other day. So since week 8, which was the Denver game, so the Chiefs' 6-game losing streak, or not losing streak, but bad stretch here. The Chiefs are 24th in dropback EPA per play, so expected points added per play. Here are the teams the Chiefs are ahead of, and I'm going to name you the quarterbacks that have started games for these teams as well. At 25 is the Pittsburgh Steelers with Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky. The Browns are 26 with DTR, Joe Flacco, and maybe PJ Walker started a game at some point. The Patriots, Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones. The Cardinals had a game with Clayton Tune in there alongside Josh Dobbs and now Kyler Murray. The Panthers with Bryce Young. The Jets with Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian, and Zach Wilson all playing time. The Giants with Tommy DeVito playing. And the last team was the Raiders with Aiden O'Connell. Basically, what I'm saying is the Chiefs' offense has been the worst drop-back offense in the NFL the last 6 weeks of teams without backup quarterbacks. This is broken. They are a broken passing offense right now. There's nothing they can rely on, at all within the plays. The wide receivers are screwing up all the time. Kelsey isn't winning as much this year. Sunday was one of Kelsey's worst games I remember. I know it's obviously the heroic play was taken away, but Kelsey was awful on Sunday. The Bills were just putting a corner on him, and Kelsey didn't know, he couldn't get any separation at all in man coverage. He was trying to, literally tackle corners because he was so mad that he couldn't get any separation at all. There's no teeth to this dropback offense at all. And we're now at it. It's been a thing all year. The only 2 times the dropback offenses look good is when they played the Bears and the Chargers, who had linebackers who literally didn't know what they were doing. Every other week, the dropback offense is at least a half where they've been awful. It is what it is at this point. There's no bye. They're going to have to most likely go play 4 playoff games now. They don't get an additional bye in the playoffs. They're out of time. This is just not it's just not going to work out when there's so many reasons why it's not going to work out, but that's where I'm at this point. I have no hope for this dropback offense to figure it out. It's just not going to happen.
That is the thing, man. As many times as we've had ugly stretches with the Chiefs offense in the Mahomes era, it seems like every time we do, the stats always are oh, well, they're still top 8, top 10, that number. Whew. That really tells you there's trouble a brewing. But that's why we're here. We're here to give you guys the short of it and the long of it, the good and the bad. We'll be honest with y'all, and yeah, we're honest that hopefully the Chiefs use these 4 games to tune things, to find things out about themselves, to learn things heading into the postseason, and we're going to be here along the way to break all that down, show you exactly what they're trying out, exactly what they're getting better at over these last 4 games. So appreciate you joining tonight. Appreciate you watching. Make sure you check us all out on Twitter and at arrowheadpride.com, and we will catch you next week. Thanks, y'all.